Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. This is my N55 valve cover off my F15 X5. I bought it with 97,000 miles on it, and it's making a high-pitched squeal when you come to a stop, and from what I've read, it's pretty common on the N55 motor. The PCV valve actually fractures. You typically have to replace your entire valve cover, but someone made a fix for it right here. I'll put a link in the description for this part. It's basically a PCV valve that you add on yourself. You have to cut that old one off and glue this new one down, but that actually gets around the issue. I'm going to insert a clip of my car actually making the sound. So what happens is you get a tear in this, and excess crankcase pressure gets vented out the front crank seal and the rear main seal, and you get like a high-pitched squeal. Very common on the N55, and I didn't see any walkthrough on YouTube, so I'm showing you guys how to replace this to get rid of that noise. Otherwise, you'd have to change the entire valve cover. You should be able to do this on the car. I already have it off because I'm doing a valve cover gasket. I'll link to the video where I actually do the valve cover gasket on this car, so you know how to get to this point, assuming you want to do it off the car. Or like I said, you can follow this DIY, just picture this being on the car. So we're gonna cut that old one off using a rotary tool, like a Dremel. So we basically wanna put a slit in this like an X. We wanna stop here and pry this off using a heat gun and a screwdriver. This was ultrasonically welded at the factory, so we should be able to remove it without needing to cut the actual valve cover. So there we go, we got a nice clean surface. I've seen people cutting this down the side and whatnot, and I actually found a forum post from somebody that said, whoa, what are you doing? That's not how it was designed. If you do that, you change the travel of the diaphragm, change the travel of the spring. It doesn't make sense to do it that way. You can't just cut down the valve cover. You need a nice surface for this to seat down into. So credit to that person. Where they said put a slit and then break it off and then go around the sides, you'll be able to get it off. Kind of had my doubts for a second there, but it worked out. But it's so brittle now, it just comes apart. And that's why you get that howling sound, because this is not doing its job. Actually, I believe it just creates suction. So the front seals are sucking in air. I'm not sure, but this is the culprit, and instead of changing the whole valve cover, someone made that kit. So that came off pretty clean. I'm just gonna make sure everything's off here. Let's do a test fit with the replacement valve. If you noticed, this lines up with these here. It fits tight naturally. So it actually has a couple grooves here, so you can't really, I think you can put it in this way and just turn it until it stops and you're in the perfect position. So that's great. Now I'm going to clean this up and wipe that down and we'll glue it down. Get the surface cleaned up. To seal it, I'm going to use this. I know a lot of people use JB Weld, but I want it to be removable in the future. This stuff's really good. 1 minute epoxy or 1 minute gasket. It's super tough, but you can also still peel it off with a screwdriver and some pressure if you needed to. It will do the job here, I have no doubt. So I'm going to use some of this. So we're going to put this in. So we'll let that set and then I'll come back when it's dry. Alright, so it's been a few minutes and that's fully cured. So I'm in the middle of a valve cover gasket job. Like I said, I'm going to put a link in the description on how to pull this out, assuming you want to do it off the car, or like I said, you could probably just do this on the car. So this shows you how to change out your PCV valve on your N55 BMW to get rid of that howling noise that you get when you're coming to a stop or when you're just sitting at idle. You know, it affects pretty much all the N55s as far as I can tell. This is a 2014 valve cover here and it still has this problem. So I'll get this cleaned up, get it tossed back on the car so I can conclude my DIY for the valve cover job, and I'll just take it for a drive, make sure that noise is gone, and I'll let you know right at the end of the video whether or not it worked out for me. So what I noticed is that noise is less pronounced now. It's definitely quieter, but it's still there. Regardless, you guys should find this video useful. It seemed to have helped make that issue less pronounced, and it's a little quieter when it happens, but there's still an ongoing issue with this howling noise on this car. I'm sure there'll be plenty of people with an N55 motor that would like to give this a try. It could completely fix your issue or help reduce the noise. I believe there's another seal integrated into the actual valve cover that may be an issue. I'm not sure. I noticed one thing. It seems like when the auto start stop is disabled, that noise doesn't come at all. But with that start stop activated, it comes every time. It's kind of strange. So whatever it is, it seems like the car pulls more vacuum or something along those lines when auto start stop is disabled, or enabled actually. Okay, so next step in this process is trying a new valve cover. This has to fix it, otherwise you know, it's completely unrelated and not related to the PCV, I guess. But what I've done, I purchased an aftermarket valve cover. It was $118 on eBay. Comes with all the gaskets. Comes with a new PCV valve. Inside here there is a rubber valve, and I believe somewhere else. This is part of the whole PCV system, all the way down and even up in here. So there's a couple other places where there's rubber that can rupture, and if that lets go, your PCV system doesn't work properly and you could have this issue. So this is stage 2. If this fixes it, I'm going to recommend that you guys, if you're having this issue, rather than try to replace this valve, and if you need to do your valve cover gasket anyway, consider a whole new valve cover. I spent about $15, I believe, or $20 on the replacement valve, and I spent about $20 for the actual gaskets for the valve cover. So between those two costs, that was about a third of what it would have cost to just replace the entire valve cover. Assuming this fixes things, then you know it's a good solution for you guys. They offer the entire valve cover for $118 delivered. I'll put a link in the description. So I'm going to get this installed. There's no need to show you the whole process because I have another video on my channel showing you how to do a valve cover gasket on an N55. I'm going to get this put into place. We'll come back after everything's back together, go for a test drive, and see if we've corrected this issue once and for all, and we can make a conclusion. So I have the start stop enabled, pulling into my garage. Whisper quiet. The issue is gone. For what it's worth, since owning this car, that's the first time I've pulled it into my garage with the start-stop enabled and it not making that noise. I'm going to recommend that you just replace the valve cover. Considering it's under $120, you have a brand new valve cover. All the valves that are built into it are brand new. For some people, that valve will probably work. A lot of earlier N55 cars that didn't have the start-stop feature maybe don't pull as much vacuum, and therefore they're not as likely to do this, because I kind of eliminated that noise altogether if I turned off start-stop. But anyway, I'm gonna say change out the entire valve cover for 120 bucks. Follow my DIY video on changing out the valve cover gasket. That'll show you how to get it off and on. But for the few people that want to try that PCV valve, good luck. Hopefully it works out for you. If it does, please comment below so other people can get a gauge on if it's going to actually work for them. So thanks for watching. Consider subscribing for more N55 content. I upload regularly.